But again, the thing to remember is that the steel used in this knife is nicer and more robust than all the steel used in human history up until like 100 years ago. People fought wars, killed one another, they tilled their fields with knives that were far less quality than this. Okay, this is a knife that I've wanted for a long time. I finally got one, pulled the trigger on it. This is the Cold Steel Bushman. It's a Bowie style blade. Specs real quick, the blade itself is 7 inches long. Overall, it says it's 12 1/4. The weight is about 10 ounces, high carbon steel. The blade thickness is 2.5 millimeter. Let's take a look at it. Okay, you can see that it comes with cold steel. They have like a proprietary Secure-X sheath. Essentially, this is just like molded plastic. There's a very loud danger warning here. It says, do not grip above this line when withdrawing the knife. That way you don't cut your hand. A very simple clip. And to release the knife, all you have to do is push this back just a little bit. Yeah, this sheath is like, it's molded plastic. It feels like a toy, like a play school knife. That I love, it's not a little bit of rattle, there's no rattle. It fits really well. It's a really well-designed sheath, I guess. This is no frills, but not everybody needs frills. Comes out like a dream. These sheaths are okay. It also comes with a ferro rod, a little baby ferro rod there. This is cold steel in a nutshell. What is the least expensive, most functional thing we can offer in mass? This knife cost me $19. Let's look at why. We can see that it has a broad Bowie style clip point, has a false wedge here. This particular knife was made in China. What's interesting about this is that this is just a blank slab folded over in a press to make the handle. It's all one piece. Honestly, this has the feeling of like a garden rake. You can see there's a hollow hole there. And this is marketed for if in a survival situation, you could essentially whittle a piece of wood and make a spear out of this. And again, I can't imagine any reason I would need a spear in a survival situation. I mean, this isn't the movies. And I think that was some marketing guy's like genius ploy to like have a really cheap handle. He's like, well, fuck it. What if we just fold it over the steel? And that way we don't have to make handle scales and we can sell it for 20 bucks. We can say, turn it into a spear. So the thing you'll notice in this weapon right away, look how thin it is. 2.5 millimeters is incredibly thin. Now for a bushcraft knife, honestly, for thousands of years, people use stone knives, okay? So this is doing fine. If you need something thicker than this for bushcraft, you should get an axe. I do have really nice thick bushcraft knives, BK7, I have Bowies, that kind of thing. But for what you would normally need a knife for, this will probably work. I think we got in the habit of thinking that a knife has to be 8 millimeters thick in order for it to be appropriate to use in the woods. People use pocket knives for hundreds of years. But just as a, just to take a look at it, look at this. Quite literally, my case knife, this case trapper, is almost the same thickness. And the swedge here, the case knife is definitely thicker. So that's it in a nutshell. They're able to offer this knife for $20 because it is made with a very small amount of steel. The handle here is not particularly comfortable, as you can imagine. Like, it's fine. Again, this harkens back to the most simple tools you could imagine. Somebody out in the woods has essentially a sharp piece of something hard. There's no frills on this whatsoever. Honestly, for $20, I think it's quite a good value. I bought this as kind of a lark. I mean, you can get a Mora for cheaper than that. It'd probably perform better and be more robust, but I've always wanted one of these. I think they're cool. So when I received this knife, it was not particularly sharp. It was unusually dull for a cold steel knife, so I stropped it a little bit. Now it's not bad. I'm also really interested in this little baby ferro rod. There are a lot of different mods you can do on this, which I intend to do. I'm going to wrap the handle. I'll probably add some washers or gaskets here to give it a little bit more grip. And for all the world, it feels like a rake or like a shovel. It has like that level of quality to it. But again, the thing to remember is that the steel used in this knife is nicer and more robust than all the steel used in human history up until like 100 years ago. People fought wars, killed one another, they tilled their fields with knives that were far less quality than this. So I don't think we should sleep on it. If you can get out into the woods for $20 and have a reliable knife, I think that's amazing. That's why I like cold steel. The one thing I don't like about really thin swedges like this is that if you were to baton with this, you're going to chew up your baton. Again, get an axe. Okay, we're out in the ferro rod testing site, in other words, my garage. And just more than anything, I want to see if the sparks fly at all. There we go. Starting to get some sparks now. I'm going to give it a quick file. So I have ground off the back coating at a 90 degree angle. Let's see if that makes any difference, because it was not throwing really good sparks. The problem was obviously the coating on the knife. You need to grind this off if you intend to use it for sparks. Okay, final thoughts. Obviously, this is just my first impression of this knife. I've not taken it out and used it in the field. I think for what it's worth, it's probably a pretty good deal. Yes, there are much better knives out there. Yes, there are knives that have better sheaths, have more frills. I look at the cold steel Bushman as if it's like the high point of bushcraft knives. Is it as nice as a Dan Wesson? No. Will it serve the same purpose when the time comes? Probably. I'm going to do a review and actually take it out and do some chopping and some whittling with it. At first blush, though, I like it.